Hey there, everyone. Welcome. It's the Lotus Art of Sacred Embodiment, and we are here today to talk about purpose, divine purpose on this ascension journey. Thanks for returning. If you come here and spend time with me regularly, I love having you here. If you're new, thanks for being here. And if this resonates and aligns with you, then I'd love to have you back. And feel free to subscribe to the channel and to give a like. So let's talk about the difference, first of all, between purpose and service. So purpose, especially according to Richard Rudd of the Gene Keys, is not our service. It's not what we do necessarily. First and foremost, our purpose is the coding of our soul's frequency and essence. So that purpose aligns us, right? Especially over time through experience. I tend to liken it a little bit to our divine blueprint and our soul signature frequency, which, I do that in classes with clients and work specifically with clients on these. But these are our makeup, right? It's the blueprint of who we came here to be. Our purpose is that soul essence that we are wired to. It's already written in the stars and in our heart, so to speak. It's what our soul comes here to embody, to live down onto this plane, to express, to experience from our own inner landscape. It's a subtler frequency of us. And the kicker is, right, that if we aren't connected within, if we aren't landing really in our deeper center, in our sacred center, if we aren't living from the inside out, meaning know thyself first and foremost, then it's actually harder to get a take on who we truly are, right? It's an expression of who we truly are, the essence of our individual note that we play in the orchestra of life. So everybody's purpose is innate and unique. We cannot find it outside of us. However, we can recognize when it strikes that inner chord within us. We can recognize that, yes, that alignment, right? Or that peace, or that joy, or that sense of wholeness. And we're grounded, we're empowered in a very subtle way. And we're home within this living temple that is the body. Now, when we look at service, oftentimes we think that, right, we're living our purpose, right? We've got to live our purpose. We've got to be our purpose. So the service and purpose does go hand in hand. But in order to truly be aligned with your true service, right, with your truest gift and skills that we're here to offer and bring as a service, the more that we are anchored from the inside in our purpose, the deeper our service will be, the truer our service will be, and the more powerful our service will be. Now, not everybody has to have their vocation as an expression of their purpose. Most people don't necessarily, right? Those who are entrepreneurial, that's kind of a part of the blueprint, or teachers or guides or healers, or, you could even say, that anything that we do is an expression, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're doing it for money. It doesn't mean that it's your work or your life's work. And yet, there's something very rewarding when we marry and merge what our true purpose is with how we're living our greater external life. Because then the life that we live becomes very attuned and enlivened, and it becomes more of a sacred journey than when we're disconnected. So let's look for a minute at, what happens if we're disconnected or we don't know our purpose, right? Because that is a big problem for some people. They're like, I don't know what my purpose is. I don't know how to find my purpose. Normally, when I hear that from people, I'm hearing that they're looking for their way to do their work, right? To be of service. But our purpose, we have to look within. It's a deeply intimate process. This is another way of talking about relational intimacy. That relational intimacy is how deeply connected can I get to the song of my own soul, right? The tune that it's playing, the melody, the lyrics, maybe even. How can I get so up close and personal where I can start to feel it through every cell vibrating, through my bones? Now, this can take time to get to that place, and it also requires a lot of internal focus, stillness, quietude, inquiry, and a deep observation of when, another term that I'm going to throw in here, right, because they all kind of hook together, is our divine alignment. How do we know when we're divinely aligned, and what are we ultimately aligning our choices, our actions, our thoughts, what we're co-creating in the world? What are we divinely aligning it to? We're divinely aligning it to our soul presence, to our true essence, to that deepest expression of why we're here, what we're here to experience. And that doesn't mean experience in the external world, places to go, things to do, right? Attractions to see, entertainment to partake in. From my point of view, the more that we're engaged outwardly like that, the further away we are from our true purpose. So this 3D world, this mundane plane of existence is really, I'm sorry if I make noise, is really set up to take you from your purpose. It is set up to take you from your own inner world, your own inner center. Doesn't mean that we only live in here, but we live in here first, and then we go out, and then we go, does that feel good to what I know my truth is? Does that person, place, thing, experience really give me something substantial that resonates, right? That vibrates with that which makes me feel most alive in the most glorious way? When we are not focused inward, and again, this doesn't mean this is the only place of our focus, but we spend a good amount of time aware and paying attention and dialing our awareness into our soul, to our connection with the divine, whatever way that shows up for us. The more that we're here, the clearer our purpose is going to be, and we're going to be more aware of it as it develops within us. As we go through transformations and changes, our purpose then can reveal a new layer of itself. And if we're listening, if we're tuning in to the subtleties of our own inner song, then we get to learn and follow that lead. Now, when we aren't in that place, and if we are more externally focused, we fall prey more easily to the 3D construct programs. The programming of culture, the programming of old systems that try to govern the way that we live, the way that we think, the way that we care for ourselves, what is important, right? And we can say our largest governing system in our country here in the United States, probably in the West in general, is, consumerism and commerce. So it's growing exponentially with the, introduction to AI and the ways in which every platform, right, is monetized. So we're constantly getting advertised to, marketed to, and that is a system that is kind of a parasite that then informs so many other ways in which we think and feel, the things that we're afraid of, the things that we feel like we need to feel safe outside of us. All of that noise and distortion, we are easily taken in by when we aren't dialing in to our own inner connection of our purpose. So what are some of the expressions, right? And we know our purpose, right? You have a sense of your purpose. And you might have had a sense of your purpose from a young age. It might have been showing you all along. The questions were, did you get hijacked by the worldly world, or were you able to stay in a deeper alignment and inner listening? So the spiritual journey is really about coming home to our divine essence, our soul connection to God, to living from the temple within us. And by doing that, what we do out in the world then, what we partake in, when it's aligned with our truth, not our dysfunction, right? Not our distortions, not our pain and suffering, but the wholeness of who we are, then life, right, returns even more bounty to us in more joy, in more energy, in more wholeness, in more right-aligned connections, in more opportunities to really hone and build a life from the frequency that already is within us. Now, back to what is your purpose, right? So I like to think of a purpose and the signals of purpose, because it's really hard to put into words, and this is going to be a very personal thing. So just, bear with me. Take what you need, leave the rest, that type of thing. So it's a felt sense. It's a felt sense of, let's say, generosity. Let's say joy. Let's say service. Let's say it's a resonance. It's a deep resonance with a country that maybe you've never even been to, right? But you go and it's like, whoom, it just fills you from within. Now I'm gonna weave in here our karma, right? Because we not only have the karma that creates distortions, that attracts the opportunities for our wounding and suffering to get activated, our karma also holds those things that are the yes for our soul, those things that align us with something deeper than our personality, right? So our purpose goes beyond our personhood. There are a lot of things that we can think, that look good on paper. Oh, here's my 5-year plan. Here's the job that I'm supposed to have. Here's the house I'm supposed to have. Here's the way that I'm supposed to live, because if I'm doing those things, I'm going to feel complete then, right? And so we sort of mistake because we're building from the external. And what I want to say here is there's been a time for that, right? There is no swing of the pendulum that is completely wrong. Each swing of the pendulum, like I've talked about before, offers a new level of our learning, but it is not the end all. So programming likes to, I'm not going to get into all the levels of programming, but let's just say that when we're programmed by the 3D construct, what ends up happening is we latch on to a certain program, and then it just keeps going and going and going, right? Generation by generation by generation. When maybe it was appropriate for a generation or a point in time, but it wasn't necessarily meant to be what stagnates humanity in one expression of life. So maybe it's a country, maybe it's a spiritual teaching, it's a spiritual path, that you're drawn to these things. They are outside, but they're speaking to you inside, right? It's like, whoa, I know that. There's something about that lands so deep, and I just want to stay there. That is a breadcrumb to your purpose. So I'm going to weave another layer here, right? Our purpose intertwines like a mystery teaching, right? So ancient times, kitties now coming when I'm on here, but we're going to wait before I let them in. So there's a mystery teaching, right? Many mystery teachings, but the mystery teachings want to lead us and guide us from the inside. Okay, I hope that worked. I paused. I've never paused before. Um, So the mystery teachings guide us from inner knowing levels, and they're going to be woven together with our purpose for this lifetime. Now, when we pay attention to what is calling to us, then we start to inquire, we start to feel more deeply into me see, right? That deeper, intimate connection. What is that feeling saying? What is it asking of us? How is it asking us to orient? And most of the time, it's going to be asking us to orient more towards, more towards the higher qualities of peace and love and joy and connection and God or nature, right? I think that if you're a nature lover, that's probably one of the easiest, most profound yeses, where that is your church, so to speak, right? Like some people will have their church, their physical church, because they align so deeply with whatever that tradition is, and that tradition allows them and grows them and evolves them into more of who they truly are if they stay in the inner space, right? More inwardly connected. Nature can do that. The woods, the ocean, the desert. There's going to be communication that grows over time, that informs us of who we actually are. Now, this does not mean that we do something with it, but it informs how we live our life. And, for instance, I'll just give a couple examples. Like my father was just naturally very generous, incredibly generous. And so free from shadow, because we all have shadow, but free from shadow, that generosity was just how he lived. And he extended it and expressed it as a natural part of his being. And now let's look at my mom, right? My mother, one of her, and these are probably not the subtlest qualities, but they're the easiest to maybe connect with. And then my mother has this amazing way of being really clear. And in that clarity, there's this, wisdom and straightforwardness and a way of being pragmatic. Like I go to my mom a lot, and I'm kind of like, okay, help me organize this material plane, this part of my material world, since that's not my forte. But then her part of her purpose expresses as such. So my purpose is living from deeply inside, from living deeply connected to the inner realms and higher realms and the subtle nuances of embodiment, right? So my purpose is for me only, first and foremost. It is my journey and my path of my greatest fulfillment of my role on earth. What I do with that is my vocation. What I do with that is my sacred service. But my purpose is always evolving to reveal more, so that if I'm continuing to utilize it, come on up here, if I'm continuing to utilize it as my service, right, then what I share and offer continues to evolve. Now, please don't get up there, honey. Don't get up on the table. No. Oh, sorry, everybody. We're going to do it anyway. Okay. So, I'm getting distracted. So, when we can really listen to whatever that is that shows up as us from that deep soul level, then we're living in harmony and balance. Life becomes very simple then, which is, it's a boon when life becomes simple because we become more coherent. And as we're continuing this evolutionary process, as we're continuing to remember who we truly are, our purpose becomes more and more important because our purpose is what stabilizes us in our spiritual awakening. It calls forth our soul, all those fragments of soul, to return home, to live from wholeness. It shows us what needs to be healed so that we can continue to divinely align into the highest expression of who we're here to be. And when we do that continuously, right, we are becoming the new human. We are becoming our divinity, so that our purpose is just the essence that expresses through us. It's a frequency, it's a vibration that is coherent and that emanates out and supports the symphony of all of us. So I did name off, right, the divine blueprint, divinely aligning, soul, the signature frequency. All of these sort of intertwine, and and those are the techniques and the technicalities, of these inner expressions of our subtle selves that that I work with clients. So links are below if you're interested in that. But in general, if you just keep following, right? Follow your joy. Follow your peace. When you start getting pulled out of that, that is the opportunity and window to go deeper. The more that you pick and choose mindfully what you ingest, the resonance, the frequencies, the information, and know whether or not you can actually apply it to you and follow only those things that you can, then you're going to become even more coherent. Otherwise, the frequencies of the plethora of information, which is all amazing, right? But it's not all for all of us. So we want to be, what is the word I'm looking for? We want to be practicing deeper integrity. And that deep integrity is that alignment on behalf of our becoming, on behalf of our unfolding of the purpose that we came here for, which was just to be who we truly are in the best and highest expressions we can evolve into. Did I say everything? I didn't look at my notes. I think so. All right. So here's to listening, sensing, feeling, knowing our soul presence and our deeper purpose. All right. Blessings.